Good evening, Mayor and Council members. With the passage of the ST3 Ballot Measure, Sound Transit now has 2 active light rail extension projects in Redmond: the extension to Overlake, funded in ST2, and the extension to Downtown Redmond, funded in ST3. Tonight is an informational briefing. It's a preview of design and construction activities that you can expect in 2017, including work that the city is doing to support the light rail extension. Over the years, the council has taken a lot of actions to support the extension of light rail, and tonight I'll also provide a look ahead at future actions the council may be asked to take. And tonight we are joined by Asa Agus, Leonard McGee, and Ryan Bianchi from Sound Transit to share more about the 2017 design and construction activities. In a few minutes, Leonard will update the council on the Downtown Redmond link extension. But right now I want to turn it over to Ryan Bianchi to describe key upcoming activities as part of the extension to Overlake.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm Ryan Bianchi, and I do community outreach for Sound Transit. I wanted to point out that some construction should begin starting early next year. And what you see on the screen here to the left is south and to the right is north. The gray line in the middle is SR 520. Our project runs from about 131st Street in Bellevue up to Northeast 40th Street here in Redmond. The construction that we will probably see coming within in the next year would be, I should also point out the 2 yellow areas there are the station areas, and running along 520 is the guideway and track. So on the left side of the screen, where 131st is in Bellevue, that's where the contractor expects to begin some demolition of the buildings there. It's a park. It's called Park Place. They will also do some demolition on adjacent to or close to 152nd Avenue Northeast, where Overlake Village Station will be. Demolition of some of the office buildings there to make way for construction. They also plan to, they plan to begin some prep work along the alignment, which will include clearing and grubbing along 520, as well as getting the staging areas ready and setting up for heavy construction. Looking at the schedule here, so we're at the end of 2016. Currently, we're still doing design, even as construction gets going. This is a design build contract, so we can finish up design even as construction starts. You'll see the station and track design goes into 2018. We have construction that goes through 2020. And light rail system and testing will last until 2023, when we expect to open for revenue service. Briefly, this is something that you have seen before, likely seen before. This is the Overlake Village Station site plan. It's 152nd is over to the lower right-hand corner of the screen. From 152nd is a pedestrian drop-off drive, or it's called a Plaza Street, and that'll be the primary way of getting to and from for passengers who are being dropped off. You also notice over to the right is the what we call the paperclip staircase, and that's where you will be able to connect to the other side of 520 via a pedestrian bicycle bridge. The platform, of course, is right in the middle of the screen. You've seen this as well. This would be the Redmond Technology Center, this was the site plan that was proposed in 2013. I just wanted to point out that on that one, you have the parking garage over on the left of the screen, and you have the bus circulation over to the right. But that plan has been updated. We're now just past 30% design. But this site layout shows you what our current thinking is, and that is to have the garage over the bus area. So over to the right of the screen, and you can see the parking garage. It's about a 300-car parking garage. It'll be built on top of that, and that leaves us with some space to the south side of that site for some potential future development. Also, I'd like to point out the dotted line there that goes across 520, and that is the proposed Microsoft Bridge, which we are still working on the details on. So as construction begins, both here in Redmond and through Bellevue, we will need to close the park and ride facilities. This shows you how we're going to keep the bus service going through construction, and that is to build that a temporary bus loop on the south end of the site at the Overlake Transit Center. And then we would build the garage on the north end of the site and the bus loop over there. And then that allows us to keep service going. However, the park and ride facility will be closed, and that could be coming up as soon as early next year. And it happens that the South Bellevue Park and Ride will also close early next year. They've been saying January, but now, it could be sometime in the early part of 2017. But as we close the Park and Ride, we've done a few things to help with getting people to and from where they want to go. One of the things is that we have leased several new lots in the area, and you can't see on this map, and I would encourage people to go to our website to get the details of this, but the light blue dots that are there kind of in the center of everything are some of the new leased parking lots. Those lots are actually, the two on the right side there are on the Rapid Ride B line, and will allow people to access the Park and Ride area, or the Overlake Transit Center area. We also have existing park and ride facilities that we've identified that have additional capacity, and you can go to our website and find those places as well. And we've also added additional transit service. Specifically, the 541 is a great new service that goes along 520 and gets people to the U District station, or the University of Washington station, light rail station. I mentioned going to our website. You can go to this justonetrip.org and do a commute plan, and you can also qualify for some incentives if you go there and plan your trip that way. Of course, King County and the City of Redmond have great sites for helping people figure out how they're going to get around during construction. That's it.
Thanks, Ryan. Leonard McGee, a project manager for the Downtown Redmond Link Extension Project. I'll give you a quick briefing on that. We are in the preliminary engineering phase. You may recall that the preliminary engineering phase was part of ST2, funded by ST2, and it was work that was postponed due to the downturn in the economy, 2008-2009. The Sound Transit Board restored the funding earlier this year, and we've been in procurement for about 6 or 7 months, and we've awarded the contract, and we're ready to get underway. Notice to proceed any day now. So a quick project description. The Downtown Redmond Link Extension is that former segment E of the East Link project, and it's 3.7 miles of light rail guideway in various configurations, at grade, some elevated portions. It consists of 2 stations, one in Southeast Redmond, that will also have a 1,400 space parking garage, and then the terminal station for the East Corridor in Downtown Redmond at Leary Way in the former Burlington Northern right-of-way corridor. So the key objectives for the preliminary engineering is to, one, start with the project refinement. Go back to where we were, look what's changed since 2009, in 2011, since the EIS was adopted and the record of decision was approved. See what's changed. We know the environment hasn't changed, but the area has grown up. There are residents there that weren't in the area, and particularly in the downtown area. So see what's changed, look at the environment, and also look at other things, studies the things the cities has done, such as the Mary Moore sub-area plan, and also the city's transit integration study that's ongoing right now. So those are things we will take in consideration as part of the project refinement. Step 2 would be to update the conceptual engineering that was completed. So with all that new information, information from studies the city has done, come up with a new conceptual engineering plan, and also update the environmental documents. And then with that update, launch into preliminary engineering. So real quickly, this is a bird's eye view looking roughly a southwest or westerly southwest direction. And in the top right corner, some of the challenges that we're looking at starting off at Northeast 40th is getting under Northeast 40th and squeezing between a parking garage that is on the Microsoft campus and the on-ramp at Northeast 40th. And then down into the St. Mammons River area, we have encroachments into Marymore Park. There were encroachments with the earlier design, but with the widening of SR 520 by WashDOT in 2009, 2010, that has moved our alignment further into the park. The SR 520 crossing, our alignment has to cross to get into the downtown. Our conceptual engineering did look at going underneath 520. Our representative alignment as part of ST3 looked at going over. So we'll study that real closely, work closely with WashDOT to look at the opportunities. And also at that location, we'll look at opportunities to connect the link between the Redmond Central Connector and the East Lake St. Mammons River Trail. And then coming into downtown, our conceptual engineering has an alignment that's at grade as it runs from 520 all the way to Leary Way. There's up to 6 at-grade crossings, and so those will be really challenging. I know the city in their transit integration study are looking at that and looking at some potential options, and we'll be looking at those options with them as well. So real quickly, DRLE is Downtown Redmond Link Extension Schedule, and PE is preliminary engineering. So again, our procurement from May into October of this year, we awarded, South Transit Board awarded on November 29th. We're looking to notice to proceed this month, maybe this week. We'll start the environmental and PE for most of 2016 into 2017 and into 2018. Final design by 2020, construction by 2023, and revenue service by 2024. And that's concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
All right, so I'd like to turn our attention back to Overlake for a moment and to highlight some of the city-led work that's supporting the extension of light rail. First, as you know, the city is advocating through its legislative agenda for accelerating the funding of the Overlake access ramp. At the same time, Sound Transit is preparing to construct what Ryan referred to as the Plaza Street in front of the station, and those two have a relationship, they connect. And so the city is working with WashDOT and Sound Transit to coordinate those construction schedules so that they both can be completed before that light rail station opens, so that the Plaza Street can be constructed all the way up to the access ramp, and so that it's not a construction project when the light rail station opens. A little bit further north, the city has begun design of the 40th Street stormwater trunk extension. The council authorized the mayor to sign an MOU with Microsoft, which has agreed to fund the project, and the council approved the design contract in October. As you can see on the map, the project extends the existing trunk line from 40th and 172nd out to Lake Sammamish. The project has multiple environmental and economic development benefits. With the trunk line extension, the city and Microsoft are working with Sound Transit to achieve the greatest benefits at the light rail station itself as possible. This project is expected to be complete by 2019 or sooner, depending on the permits required, on the federal permits that are required. So there are a number of actions that we may be coming back to the council to take action on. In the next couple of years, there'll be probably several. In early 2017, we're anticipating that the master plan development, there'll be amendment to that master plan development coming back for the Redmond Technology Center to reflect some of the site plan changes that you heard about. with the changes that you heard about a little bit to the Redmond Technology Center pedestrian bike bridge, that bridge is part of a number of different documents that would need to be amended. We expect that would happen over the next couple of years. And then each pedestrian bridge, both at Overlake Village and at the Redmond Technology Center, they'll require operations and maintenance agreements that we would expect would probably come to in the 2018 timeframe. As Leonard mentioned, there are two significant city initiatives underway related to the extension of light rail to downtown. In the Marymore sub-area of Southeast Redmond, staff is working on a package of comprehensive plan and zoning code amendments that implement the Southeast the Southeast Redmond Neighborhood Plan that the council adopted in 2014. The plan and code amendments will allow existing businesses to remain and allow new mixed-use, multifamily, and transit-oriented development to start to happen in that neighborhood. And as part of that, we'll be bringing a recommended infrastructure plan for streets, stormwater, water, and sewer to you as well. A key part of that infrastructure plan is providing access to the light rail station that you see in the purple box, and the red box is a proposed location for the parking structure. And so we are anticipating your review of that in the first and second quarters of 2017. I'm moving a little bit down the line into downtown. As Leonard mentioned, we are conducting a bus rail transit integration or train study, and that is in full swing. The council authorized the contract for that back in the summer. And the goal of this work is to develop a preliminary preferred station area concept that provides convenient transit access and that fits into downtown and supports the vision for downtown. So staff is evaluating 4 station area concepts together with Sound Transit and Metro and WashDOT, all of which are in the Redmond Central Connector Corridor. 2 of them are at-grade concepts at the location that Leonard mentioned between 161st and Leary, and also at an alternate location between 164th and 166th in the town center area. And 2 of them are elevated concepts in the same locations, and for some of the reasons that Leonard mentioned, such as the many potential street crossings. So the analysis phase is underway right now. We're looking at topics like land use, park quality, utility conflicts, vehicle traffic, pedestrian and bicycle mobility, transit access, safety, and others. And we anticipate sharing that analysis with the community and seeking the community's input early in 2017, followed very closely by a council study session to look at all of that information and to get your input. Aside from the Marymore sub-area planning work and the train study, like the Overlake extension, the downtown extension is likely to come along with a variety of plans and agreements that will come to the council. It's likely that again, that would happen in the next 2 years so that Sound Transit can set itself up to have as much certainty as possible moving into the final design and construction phases of the project. And as we know more, we will, of course, keep you apprised. Well, that concludes the presentation. Any of us will be happy to answer questions that you may have.
Questions for Jeff? Mr. Martison.
Want to give my comrades a chance. Okay, so thank you very much for a very informative briefing, all 3. Just a couple comments more so than anything. We changed the name of the Overlake Transit Center to the Redmond Technology Center. I like to call it the Redmond Technology Center Station to differentiate it from the one where I catch the 545 every day. So we got almost all of them corrected in all of our presentations, but I still see Overlake Transit Center still seeping through. So my challenge to staff is to go through and rid us of that name, and then also perhaps to change, to come up with an acronym for the Overlake Village Transit Center that is OVTC as opposed to OTC, so there's lessening the confusion on that one. That's just a technical piece that, since, it was one of those things that I wanted to change the name because it's confusing. Which Overlake do I get off the train at? Oh, gee, I missed my stop, now I got to go back, that sort of thing. So, yeah, or, oh, darn it, I went too far, that sort of thing. Or I got off too soon. Shoot, now I've, messed myself up. having ridden the bus for a number of years, easy to make mistakes. So RTSC, OVTC. RTCS, sorry, OTCS. And then I am encouraged to see the conversation around what's happening in downtown Redmond. I share concerns with those have been expressed in the past regarding the at-grade crossings. If many of us council members recall, years ago we had a bunch of students from Redmond High School come in and we asked them, how would we solve for this? And almost all of them said, you got to elevate something, either the people or the train. Otherwise, you're going to have constant conflicts between pedestrians, cars, bikes, and the train. And so I'm very happy to see that we're talking about a solution that may alleviate some of those conflicts. And so I am very supportive of that. It would also hopefully help us get over the top of 520, which is going to be a pretty significant challenge as well. So again, thank you for a very informative presentation, and keep up the great work.
Ms. Burney.
I just want to second the elevated aspect to the station or the station and rail coming into downtown Redmond. And I don't even know if it's worth it to thoroughly evaluate at grade. I'm unclear if that's even wise to think about it, and I don't know how much time you have to spend to do that. That's just a suggestion.
Did I see someone else's hand up? I saw Mr. Schutz.
I'll echo both those comments as well. Elevated all the way. Thank you.
Mr. Stillen.
Yeah, and if you decided to skip doing the ground level in downtown Redmond, the one area I'd encourage you to look at, and I know we're in planning on this, but have we absolutely picked the alignment through the southeast Redmond-Marymoor setup? Because I'm just wondering if there's maybe a different way to route around that neighborhood and get a better alignment coming to town, and also serve to pick up some of the traffic from Sammamish before it gets into the city. So I don't know if there's still some creativity left there, or we're kind of locked into leases, but you know, I don't know if we can still do out-of-the-box thinking. I know we at one time moved the alignment of the Sound Transit 2 off of 24th Street up to the highway, and that worked better. So I just look at that map of southeast Redmond and wonder if there might be just a better way to incorporate that in than trying to stay in the Department of Transportation, Washington Department of Transportation right away. So just a suggestion.
Mr. Myers.
And just to talk about the elevated, when we were first presented the options for the Overlake stations, they were all either cut and cover or elevated to get into those stations, and we came up with a way to keep it on the surface and reduce expenses all the way through to Microsoft. And so maybe some of that money that we had saved from the previous iteration can be used to provide a more compatible facility in downtown Redmond.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. I appreciate that more than you know. Any further feedback from Mr. Churchill? Very good. Thank you, and thank you
thank
for
you.
staff for coming out from Sound Transit today. Appreciate it.